We have big news from USA Hockey today. They've revealed the full list of the 44 players they've invited to their Olympic orientation camp taking place later this month. We'll review the list and some notable omissions coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant news regarding the Olympics and Team USA. We've gone over a list comparable to this for Team Canada a couple of weeks back when they revealed their players that they invited to their orientation camp taking place at the end of August here as well. And Team USA has finally put out their list of players here as well, including 44 altogether. We have 4 goalies, 16 defensemen, and 22 forwards. Of course, as we know, all nations participating in the Olympic tournament and taking place in Italy in February 2026 have already revealed their first 6 players that have been named and confirmed here to the team. And you'll see 5 of those 6 names on this list. Matthew Tkachuk is not included in the Team USA list here, just a upfront disclosure because of his injury situation. He is expected to miss significant time to start the 25-26 NHL season. I'm not quite clear based on USA's orientation camp what they're planning to do, if there's going to be anything on ice or if it's all off ice. Either way, Tkachuk likely is going to be having surgery and will miss probably 2 or 3 months to start the season. He should be, theoretically, if all goes well, recovered and not have any issues participating in the tournament come February. But to miss this is not really a big deal. He's already confirmed to be on the team. So invited to participate in this camp, 4 goaltenders, including Joey Daccord of the Seattle Kraken, Connor Hellebuyck of the Winnipeg Jets, Jake Ottinger of the Dallas Stars, and Jeremy Swayman from the Boston Bruins. So obviously 3 of the 4 goalies were the 3 that were with USA Hockey during the Four Nation tournament. We also saw Swayman go to the World Championships and have a good run there as well. And of course, Joey Daccord also had declared for USA because he technically is a dual citizen between Canada and the United States, and he hadn't participated with either at an international level, so he was able to go either way. He could have been invited to Team Canada should he decided to do that, but he's opted to represent the Americans on the international stage. So 4 good goaltenders, except we know the 3 that were with them for the Four Nation tournament. I would suspect that the starting role will be between Connor Hellebuyck and Jake Ottinger. I think it's Connor Hellebuck's to lose, but we will see. They have lots of good options. One notable name not invited for goaltenders would be Canucks goalie Thatcher Demko, who just inked a fairly lucrative extension to remain in Vancouver. He's had Vezina Trophy votes here in the past, has had some really good seasons. I know his health and his injury and that knee problem is probably a bit of a concern for the Americans, but at the same time, you would think that, having 3 or 4 goalies at this event, that he could have been maybe one of them. He doesn't have to be a 1 or a 2 even, but it could be a good backup option if he's healthy. Now, of course, keep in mind as well, just because players have been invited to this orientation camp, it does not mean for sure that they're on the team, because clearly there's more than enough players. There will be cuts. And not only that, if players were not invited to the orientation camp, it doesn't disqualify them from being on the team as well. If somebody comes out and completely shocks them and has an amazing season and they feel like they have no better option than to put them on the team, then they will do that. So this is not a, slam the door shut on anybody who is not invited. Now, looking at the defense core, we have 16 defensemen. Obviously, you're only going to have 6 dressed per game, maybe 7 at most, and usually it'll carry probably 8. Now, I think going to the overseas to Italy for the tournament, you're going to see a couple of extra players besides the ones that are expected to be the starters be with the team. So I'd say they're probably going to carry 8 defensemen. So half of these guys are going to end up getting cut. But in alphabetical order, we have Brock Faber of the Minnesota Wild, Adam Fox from the Rangers, Noah Hannafin from Vegas, Luke Hughes from the Devils, Quinn Hughes from the Canucks, Seth Jones from the Cup champion Florida Panthers, Jackson Lacombe, the youngster from the Anaheim Ducks, Charlie McAvoy from the Boston Bruins, who's already been confirmed to be on the team, Ryan McDonough from the Lightning, Brett Pesce from the Devils. I almost said Hurricanes because he was there so long, but New Jersey Devils right now. Neil Pionk from the Winnipeg Jets, Jake Sanderson from the Ottawa Senators. We got Brady Shea, the Nashville Predators. Jacob Slavin from the Carolina Hurricanes. Alex Vlasic from Chicago, another youngster. And Zach Werenski, of course, who was one of the top defensemen in the NHL last year. I believe he was third in Norris Trophy voting, if I remember correctly, from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Werenski, I think, is probably a shoe-in on this team as well. But Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy already confirmed to be on this team, so you're going to have 4 other guys join them as the regulars, and probably a couple extras in case there are injuries. Like I said, they'll probably carry 8 defensemen altogether. If you look at who was at the Four Nations tournament, obviously you probably would give a leg up here to Werenski, Slavin, Sanderson was there. You've got obviously Quinn Hughes, Adam Fox, Brock Faber. To name a few here, I would suspect they'd be the most likely ones. Now, the most notable omission from this camp is youngster at the Habs, Lane Hudson. Breakout year last year as a top rookie. Obviously, I know Habs fans are extremely fond of him. There's all kinds of online debates of how good he is, where does he rank in the league. Then see him not be one of the top 16 from his own country, let alone the entire NHL. It's probably quite surprising, and I would suggest frustrating for Montreal Canadian fans. I am surprised. Now, I had heard a rumor a couple of weeks back before this list was ever released that Hudson wasn't getting an invite. And that part wasn't super shocking to me, given the defensemen and the quality of them that they had at a Four Nation tournament. And, maybe a couple other veterans that weren't there that could have been probably. I was like, okay, but I didn't realize they were going to invite this many. I thought maybe they would invite maybe 10 or 11 or something like that. The fact that they actually hit 16 and he's not one of them was surprising. Now you get, like I said, some other up-and-coming young defensemen like Jackson Lacombe and Alex Vlasic. The fact that they're here over him is surprising. Now they had good seasons and they deserve some recognition. There's no doubt. I would say they're long shots to make the roster, though, the final roster for sure. But yeah, it's the USA's got a lot of good young defensemen, obviously, and to see Hudson not included, but Vlasic and Lacombe in there, a little bit surprising. I would say that they view Hudson. Obviously, we know he's very good offensively, right? And I think if you're looking at the top of their lineup for their D, like Werenski, Hughes, just to name a couple right there, they don't really probably need more two-way guys or some bigger guys, right? And Hudson doesn't have size, and in my opinion, he's not developed into a strong two-way defenseman just yet. Over time, he likely will. He'll have to, being a smaller D, will have to learn how to use the stick well and how to defend a little bit better. But, he's still very young. The fact that he's putting up the offense that he is and the fact that his defense maybe isn't great, to me, is not a concern at this point in his career. If you're Montreal, you're like, okay, he needs to work on some things, but he had a phenomenal season. We're quite thrilled with that. That's quite okay. But, yeah, for him to not get an invite over some of these guys, it's quite surprising. I will say that, and I'd love to know what everybody thinks in the comments. What do you think are the main reasons why that would be the case? Now, in the forward group, also in alphabetical order, we have 22 forwards. We know that there will be 12 playing in the game. They'll probably end up carrying as many as 14. So there's bound to be, probably at least 8 of these guys are going to not make the cut. And that's assuming that somebody else doesn't, who hasn't been invited, doesn't kind of blow them away and end up trying to steal a spot here towards the early part of the season. But we have Matt Boldy from the Minnesota Wild, Cole Caulfield from Montreal, obviously another smaller player. Clearly they were not afraid to invite Cole, but Hudson gets snubbed here. So Cole Caulfield, Logan Cooley from Utah, Kyle Connor from the Winnipeg Jets, Jack Eichel from Vegas, Connor Garland from the Canucks, Jake Gensel from Tampa, Jack Hughes from the Devils, Patrick Kane from the Detroit Red Wings, Clayton Keller from Utah. We got Matthew Nyes. He would be new to this as well, but from the Toronto Maple Leafs, had a pretty strong finish to his season and got himself a nice new contract with Toronto. I do think, even if he's not on this team, I do think that he has a potential to have a big role with USA Hockey into the future here. I think his stock is only going to continue to grow, and he's certainly pretty, he's just a unique kind of player, in my opinion. So I think he'll likely see a role with USA Hockey, if not this time, into the future for sure. But I wouldn't rule out this time either. Like I said, he is unique, and as a big power forward, they may want more of that in their lineup. We also got Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, JT Miller, Frank Nazar from Chicago. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise. Brock Nelson, Shane Pinto from Ottawa, a little bit of a surprise, but Shane Pinto has really developed into a strong two-way player and was a big part of the Americans winning at the World Championships. He went over with that team and played a big role, including pretty solid two-way play. He had some big goals, some big assists, and some big defensive plays. I think he probably did a lot at that World Championship tournament to gain the attention of the brass there, to be, at least considered for bigger roles like this down the road. We got Jason Robertson, who was one of the bigger names that were not on the Four Nation tournament from Dallas. You got Brian Rust, currently with Pittsburgh. Tage Thompson from the Sabres. Brady Tkachuk, of course, captain of the Senators. Vincent Trocheck from the Rangers. And Alex Tuck, also of Buffalo. So clearly, last time we had guys like Kreider and Nelson on the team, I didn't think they had a good Four Nation tournament at all. And to be completely honest, I would be surprised if they were on the Olympic team. I think that was a little bit of a mistake. But I mean, you're looking at, a decent amount of these players obviously were with the Olympic or the Four Nation team and will likely be on this Olympic team. But they definitely have an opportunity here. Like I said, Matthew Tkachuk is an omission due to injury. A couple of other prominent names from USA Hockey that I was a little surprised, like Alex DeBrincat and Brock Besser. A couple of notable names who usually put up pretty good numbers, score a good amount of goals, not included in this roster. So, obviously, looking through this list, it's hard. You can kind of probably narrow down who you're, out of the 12 spots, I'd say there's probably 9 or 10 that are pretty easy to pick, and then there's going to be a couple of tough spots to determine here. Like I said, if it were me picking based on last year's performance and based on the Four Nation performance, I probably would replace Kreider and Nelson. But we'll see how they start the season. We'll see how the American brass feel about those two guys. Obviously, they want some veteran presence there as well, but to me, they've got plenty of other options in that category. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts on all of the USA players in the 44. How do you see the team shaping up? What are your most notable surprises for players who did get the invite and who were snubbed? Let me know in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.